Slowly, I watched Rachel's hands move at high speed. Then my heart skipped a beat. Her right wrist looked blue and slightly swollen. Without thinking, I searched for her manager, Ryan. When I found him, his face was pale, and he had his hands clasped in front of his chest as if praying. He knows. No, he's aware of it. He was aware of the abnormality in her right wrist. I swallowed hard. I glanced at the list of the remaining two songs. A small sigh escaped me. "You've got to be kidding me," I murmured softly, and looked at Rachel. Despite the pain and the struggle, she continued to move her right hand with all her might, and I watched her with a gaze filled with determination. "My name is Stephen, 30 years old. I currently work as a front desk clerk at a fairly old and large hotel in my hometown. This hotel, known for its many repeat guests, organizes various events to keep things fresh and interesting. From simple hands-on activities, tea ceremonies, kimono and dress photo sessions, to local artist exhibitions. Among them, the most popular event right now is the concert performed by local artists. Piano, of course, as well as wind ensembles, traditional Japanese music, violins, and wind instruments. Thanks to a local music college, there are quite a few musicians active in the area. Even those who are not staying at the hotel can attend the concerts, and recently, the lobby sometimes gets so crowded that people can hardly fit in. People from the music college and even local TV stations often visit, making it a popular opportunity for musicians eager to seize a chance. Today is the day of that concert. And guess what? I'm the host for today. The front desk staff take turns handling the events held in the lobby, and apparently, it's my turn today. I squinted my eyes as I looked at the list of performers. "She's really working hard," I muttered under my breath, just as the automatic doors at the entrance opened and a beautiful woman appeared, pulling a suitcase behind her. Her long brown hair had soft waves, and though her makeup was light, her sharply defined eyebrows left a strong impression. She had large almond-shaped eyes with long lashes. I couldn't help but be captivated by her beauty, and she turned out to be Rachel, the pianist performing at today's lobby concert. Since it was before check-in time, there were no other guests around. Without even glancing at the front desk, she scanned the lobby and soon sat down on one of the sofas. She seemed slightly nervous. A man in a suit came rushing in after her, hurriedly approaching the front desk. The man, handling the check-in process on her behalf, was her manager, Ryan. Apparently, there's a small talent agency in the area, and Rachel is one of its artists. Her participation in this concert was arranged through the agency. It wasn't a result of passing strict auditions, just a simple lottery. The owner wanted to ensure that anyone could have a chance to perform without bias, so the lottery system was implemented. This month, there were 20 applicants, so Rachel was the lucky one out of 20. I explained a few key points to Ryan and guided him around the lobby. The current sofa set would be removed and replaced with more compact chairs. The grand piano, which was usually available for anyone to play, would be repositioned to be fully visible from the lobby. The piano, freshly tuned in preparation for the concert, was covered, ensuring no one would touch it until the event concluded. After I finished the explanations, Ryan turned to Rachel and asked if she wanted to try playing something as a test. That was when she finally looked my way. And then, her big eyes widened. "Stephen?" I bowed respectfully. "I will also be your host for today. My name is Stephen." I bent at the waist for about 3 seconds, then slowly raised my head and smiled gently. "It's been a while. You're still working hard on the piano, I see." Ryan's eyes darted back and forth, surprised as if to ask if we knew each other. I flashed him a businesslike smile. "Well, actually, we graduated from the same music college," I explained briefly. He seemed satisfied with the explanation and immediately started talking about how we should do a collaboration. But his idea was swiftly cut off by Rachel's sharp words. "You already quit music a long time ago, didn't you?" Her cold remark made me smile bitterly and nod. Yeah, a long time ago, I muttered with a hint of sadness, then apologized to Ryan for not being able to do a collaboration. He waved his hands hurriedly, assuring me it was fine. He seemed like a genuinely good person. I had a feeling that he would be able to gently support Rachel, even with her occasional stubbornness. With that thought in mind, I finished the explanations and handed Rachel her room key. It served as a dressing room, and if the performer wished, they could stay overnight for free. It was our way of compensating for the performance. Of course, if it were a large wind ensemble, it would be a discounted stay instead, but since it was just Rachel today, she got to stay for free. She practically snatched the key from my hand, then quickly turned on her heel and headed for the elevator. It seemed like she wasn't going to let me reminisce. I could tell. She was angry that I quit music. But there was nothing I could do anymore. An overwhelming sense of loneliness filled my chest, and I buried myself in work to hide it. After getting through the busiest check-in period, and once the lobby traffic calmed down, I began rearranging the space. The heavy, luxurious sofas and tables were a challenge to move, so there was no way I could manage that alone. After my coworkers, sweating from the effort, cleared out the large sofa set, I placed the lighter chairs around the piano. I decorated the area with flowers to make the piano stand out, polished the grand piano, and took care of various light tasks one by one. When the setup was complete, I skimmed through the MC script. A list of today's songs was lined up neatly. Every single one of them was a difficult piece. Impressive. I couldn't help but smile. Even back in music college, she would master challenging pieces and boast with pride. Her family seemed well off, and during the frequent recitals, she would always be dressed in a brand new gown, looking so composed. While some around her seemed to look at her with a bit of disdain, I always admired her dedication to music. During the arts festival, we performed a piano duet together because of a lottery, and it was fun. A piano duet is when two or more people play one piano, and I partnered with Rachel. During practice, she would get so fired up that it was amusing, and during the actual performance, she played with such joy and vibrancy that it was truly a lot of fun. Right after the festival, she had already secured a spot to study abroad, so that performance became her last one in Japan. She poured her heart into it, knowing that it's a cherished memory. As I was lost in those thoughts, the elevator doors opened, and Rachel stepped out, gracefully dressed in a blue gown. Her makeup was thicker than before, accentuating her beauty even more. "Would you like to try playing a little?" As both a front desk clerk and the MC, I asked politely, but Rachel simply turned her head away with a huff. "No, there are other guests here." I glanced around the lobby. Indeed, there were a few guests scattered around. There was still about an hour before the concert, but a handful of people were already seated in the front row. Some performers would lightly play in situations like this, but it seemed she wasn't that type. "There's still an hour left, though," I asked hesitantly, and she sat down on one of the few sofas we had left for guests to relax in. "I want to get used to the atmosphere. I'll stay here." She unconsciously rubbed her right wrist. She seemed nervous. Next to her, Ryan stood with a troubled expression. I took a deep breath and went back behind the front desk to prepare some tea to serve. 1 hour later, as scheduled, the concert began, kicked off by my opening remarks as the host. Unlike my plain and safe emceeing, Rachel's performance was stunning. The first piece she chose was Liszt's Transcendental Tude No. 4, also known as Mazeppa. As its name suggests, it is the epitome of technical prowess. Just watching her fingers move was exhausting. It was that intense of a piece. However, there were some mistakes. Perhaps not noticeable to the average listener, but I noticed. Since I used to play the piano, I couldn't help but pick up on them. Still, at a competition, mistakes of that level wouldn't cause major point deductions. Maybe I was expecting too much from her. Back in our student days, She was known for being flawless during performances, almost superhuman. Her pride was so strong that she would never allow herself to make mistakes in front of others. I wondered if she had finally learned to ease up on herself. But as I applauded her and delivered my closing remarks, I noticed something. Her face was cast downward, filled with frustration. It seemed those few mistakes were not something she could overlook. Yet, when she raised her head to face the audience, she plastered on a bright smile and bowed gracefully. Impressive, I thought to myself, joining the audience in a round of enthusiastic applause. The second and third pieces were just as challenging, and the mistakes slowly began to increase. If you make a mistake right at the beginning, it can throw off the entire performance. To the hotel, this concert is supposed to be a casual event where people can listen and relax. But to the performers, it is undeniably a chance, an opportunity. On top of that, for some reason, a few well-known figures from the music world were in the audience today. Some had even come from out of the area, which surprised me since I was the one handling the front desk. I was sure Rachel had noticed too. If famous people are in the audience, anyone would get nervous, especially if you are someone striving to seize a chance. But Rachel must still be competing in many competitions, getting evaluated by renowned musicians. There's no way this lobby compares to those grand stages. I wanted her to play with more joy, just like at that arts festival, not with that pained, almost tearful expression. I wanted her to play with a smile full of life. Her smile alone should have the power to light up the entire venue. Feeling frustrated on her behalf, I continued to watch her intently. I sensed something was off. Something was strange. Sweat trickled slowly from her temple. The room was set to a comfortable temperature, but playing such intense pieces would naturally make her sweat. That part I understood, but what was this unsettling feeling pressing against my chest? Slowly, I watched her hands moving at incredible speed. Then my heart skipped a beat. Her right wrist looked blue and slightly swollen. Without thinking, I searched for Ryan. When I found him, his face was pale, and he had his hands clasped in front of his chest as if praying. He knows. No, he's aware of it. He was aware of the abnormality in her right wrist. I swallowed hard. I glanced at the list of the remaining 2 songs. A small sigh escaped me. "You've got to be kidding me," I muttered softly, and looked at Rachel. She continued to move her right hand desperately, painfully, yet with all her strength. I watched her with a gaze filled with determination. A few minutes later, the third piece was absolutely stunning. Watching up close, both hands were moving so rapidly. I used to play the piano myself, and that piece is incredibly difficult. A well-deserved round of applause. Saying that, I joined the audience in a round of enthusiastic applause. Rachel gave a strained smile and bowed. I took a deep breath. And now, for the last 2 pieces, we have a special performance. Rachel will be performing a duet with me. As I announced that, her eyes widened in shock, and the audience responded with somewhat confused applause. She found out that I used to play the piano, and she kindly suggested we do a collaboration. But I am still a novice. I can only play with my right hand. So, this will be a 2-handed duet with Rachel and me. As I finished, the audience seemed even more puzzled. Of course, they would be. Normally, a piano duet involves 2 people playing one piano, with each using both hands, which makes a total of 4 hands. This was essentially the same as one person playing alone. Ignoring the whispers of confusion, I walked straight to the piano. Rachel raised her eyebrows, her mouth opening and closing as if to ask, "What is going on?" "It's fine," I whispered softly, then sat down without waiting for her response. I placed my right hand on the keys. The cool touch of the keys felt comforting. I looked up at the sheet music. It was Alkin's Le Chemin de Fer, also known as The Railroad. That was why I raised my hand. Remember the arts festival? I said just that one phrase and started counting. 3, 2, 1. At the same moment, our fingers began dancing across the keyboard. She played with her left hand, and I played with my right. Our hands moved freely across the keys. Soon enough, small cheers erupted from the audience. I matched her tempo. She matched mine. I could not even tell who was following whom. A strange sense of unity filled me, as if Rachel and I had become one. Our shoulders brushed against each other. Occasionally, my right hand and her left hand crossed paths. She muttered under her breath, "This is so hard." Well, of course it is. She was playing a piece meant for two hands using only her left hand. It must have felt incredibly unnatural. But I carefully ran my right hand over the keys, making sure not to make a mistake, and stole a glance at her. "It's fun." Her smile almost made my right hand freeze for a moment, but I held myself back and whispered softly, "I am having fun too," and we pushed forward into the climax of the piece. The applause that followed our performance of Le Chemin de Fer was far more enthusiastic than the polite clapping before. I felt a wave of relief, knowing the audience was satisfied. "Thank you very much." I could barely keep up, but it was a precious opportunity. "Thank you." In response to my improvisation, she gave a wry smile and bowed. "For the last piece, we are going to make a slight change from the original list." The sudden announcement of the change caused the audience to murmur in surprise. When I turned around, Rachel was pouting, her lips pursed in protest. Ignoring her look of objection, I sat down at the piano. I thought it would be nice to end with a fun song that everyone knows. Without waiting for a response, I began to play the piece with my right hand, and the children in the audience immediately erupted with excitement. It was the theme song from a famous movie that any child would recognize. Rachel and I had played it for fun in the past, and with her skill, she could easily adapt the left-hand part and play it effortlessly. We finished the bright and lively tune, followed by an encore performance of another well-known piece, and the concert ended successfully. My heart, having performed in front of an audience for the first time in ages, was overflowing with fulfillment. Ryan thanked me over and over again. He explained that while discussing her future in the hotel room, Rachel had gotten so fired up that she suddenly stood up, lost her balance, and fell, landing on her bottom. In an attempt to catch herself, she instinctively thrust her right hand to the floor, twisting it in the process. At first, the pain was not severe, but it gradually worsened. Ryan suggested canceling the performance and calling another performer from their agency, but Rachel stubbornly refused. An hour before the concert, she came down to the lobby, where she would be visible to everyone, making it impossible for Ryan to argue against it. I couldn't help but be a little exasperated. "You could have just talked to me about it." At my words, Rachel glared at me sharply. "I didn't think talking to you would solve anything. I mean, you played. You played such a difficult piece. As an improvisation. Why? Why did you quit?" She pouted as she spoke, and I held out my trembling left hand. Rachel and Ryan both stared at it with puzzled expressions. "There was an accident. I was left with partial paralysis. I can't put proper strength into it anymore." At my words, their eyes went wide. Ryan immediately bowed repeatedly, apologizing for making me talk about something so painful, while Rachel turned her head away abruptly. "Tell me. I want to hear everything. Come to my room later." I knew she was turning away because she didn't want me to see her face. That's just the kind of person she was, sensitive and caring. She was probably on the verge of tears, or maybe feeling embarrassed about how she had acted until now. I glanced at Ryan and couldn't help but chuckle. He seemed to have the same thought. After seeing Ryan off, I completed my shift and changed into my casual clothes before slowly climbing the stairs. The thought of being alone with Rachel in her hotel room made my heart race, so I took the stairs to calm myself down. But I ended up out of breath, realizing I was much more nervous than I thought. I knocked on her door, and within 2 seconds, she opened it. Seeing her without makeup, her natural face, made my heart skip a beat. "Come in." I followed her gesture and entered the room. Then, I pulled out the cold compress I had brought from the front desk. I thought it might help, even just a little. Rachel had said she would go to the hospital the next day since it was after hours, but I wanted her to feel even a little bit better. So I borrowed it from the emergency kit at the front desk. Of course, I did it with permission. "You're quite thoughtful." She gave a soft laugh as she held out her right hand to me. My hands were shaking slightly, making it difficult to peel off the film of the compress. Seeing me struggle, she peeled it off. "It really doesn't move well, huh?" she murmured quietly, and I gave a bitter smile. "It doesn't really affect my daily life, but I can't carry heavy things, and I tend to make mistakes on the keyboard. It is not completely immobile, but I can't put any strength into it. When I try to force it, it shakes, and if I push too hard, it goes numb. That is the condition of my left hand since the accident. That's why it doesn't really affect my work at the front desk. But I can't carry dishes, I can't clean properly, and cooking is absolutely out of the question." Honestly, it was really tough finding a job after that. I laughed self-deprecatingly, but Rachel did not laugh. "So, that's why you weren't there when I came back from studying abroad." I stopped laughing and nodded slowly. The accident happened during my senior year of college. At that time, I had been considering joining an agency as a pianist, becoming part of a wind orchestra, or working as an exclusive pianist for a company. So many opportunities were coming my way. But none of those dreams were possible with the lingering effects of my injured left hand. I quickly switched my focus to finding a job, and this hotel was the one that hired me. I am fulfilled. It's just I can't play the piano, that's all. The piano was my entire life. Losing it left me devastated. But little by little, I climbed back up, and now I am here. Now that the wounds in my heart have healed, so I've started playing again at home with just my right hand. It is only a hobby, but still, when I play the piano, it feels like everything that happened that day is washed away. The piano is my life." Then Rachel murmured softly, "That sounds nice." I couldn't believe my ears. "Nice? You're the one living the dream, Rachel. She belongs to an agency and gets to do the music she loves for a living." That's what I had always thought, but she shook her head slowly. "It's not fun." I was stunned by her words. I'm always worried about what people think. Even today, just hearing that Ryan had brought some famous people made me so anxious. We got into an argument. I got hurt. And even so, nothing comes of it. It was true that I had never seen her name in concerts or on television. However, there are many other kinds of piano work besides that. I had always thought she was working hard as a professional in those areas. She bit her lip. "Today, playing that duet with you made me realize, geniuses are really people like you, Stephen. To play Le Chemin de Fer with just your right hand, after all that time away, and with no mistakes. It was incredible." Her eyes glistened with tears. "I should have been the one who got into that accident instead of you." I gently tapped her cheek. Her eyes went wide with surprise, and a single tear rolled down her cheek. "Don't say things like that." At my words, the dam broke, and she began to cry uncontrollably. One by one, she poured out everything, the frustrations of her situation and the struggles she had been bottling up. Her raw emotions made my heart ache as if it were being torn apart. I rubbed her back gently, and before I knew it, tears were streaming down my face too. When she finally calmed down, I made a suggestion. "What if we tried posting videos together? How about that?" Her tear-streaked eyes blinked in surprise. "Posting videos?" I nodded. Her expression grew serious, and she began talking eagerly. "You know, making videos is a lot of work. If you want to monetize them, you have to think about strategies and trends." I held up my hand to stop her. "Not for the money. just for fun, just as a hobby, I said with a smile, and she stared at me, mouth slightly open. As a hobby? I nodded. Let's do it, just for the joy of it. We don't even have to post it if you don't want to, but I'd love for people to see you play when you're really enjoying it. More than anything. I paused for a moment, feeling my face grow warm. Today, I had so much fun. If you're okay with my clumsy playing, with just my right hand, I want to do a duet with you again. When I said it, feeling a bit embarrassed, Rachel's face lit up instantly. Me too. I had so much fun. With those words, our future was decided. A year has passed since then. Whenever we both had time, we practiced quietly at Rachel's house, recording our sessions and posting them online. At first, no one watched our videos, but then, out of nowhere, they started gaining attention. And now, so many people are watching. Occasionally, we even get offers to perform live together, and since Rachel began doing this as a form of relaxation, her playing became more relaxed too, and she started getting more gigs as a performer. There were even talks of her transferring to a Tokyo-based agency, where there would be more opportunities. I started feeling anxious. Rachel might leave and go far away. I couldn't stop her. I wanted her to perform and captivate audiences not just in Japan, but all around the world. But at the very least, even if her body was far away, I wanted to keep her heart close to mine. With that feeling in mind, I invited her to my house. At my parents' house, there was a lonely grand piano that could only be played with my right hand. Rachel, looking slightly nervous, greeted my parents. I couldn't help but think how cute she looked. I led her to my room and sat down in front of the piano. There's a song I've been practicing. Would you listen? Rachel nodded and sat down on the floor with a plop. Her elegant pleated skirt spread out gracefully on the floor. I took a deep breath and placed my right hand on the keys. It was a ballad by an artist we both loved. I started playing the intro with just my right hand. Rachel watched me intently, tapping the rhythm with her hand. She still had no idea what I was planning. Then I placed my trembling left hand on the keys. For a split second, Rachel's eyes widened in surprise. Slowly, I added a simple accompaniment with my left hand. Focusing mostly on my thumb, I played just a few notes here and there, matching them to my right hand. It was clumsy, unsteady, but Rachel's eyes started to well up with tears. The song normally had lyrics, but I played it only on the piano. The right hand heavy arrangement was entirely my own. As I approached the chorus, my heart began to race. And then, as I entered the chorus, I began to sing. My singing wasn't great, but I did it anyway. I love you, I sang. It was the simple lyrics echoing through the room. I never imagined I would one day sing a love song to the woman I loved. But I worked hard to rehabilitate my left hand, and I knew that the best way to tell her how I felt was through this piano performance. Before long, I finished playing. Then, I handed her a ring. No matter where your performances take you, I want to be the place you can always come back to. Will you marry me? After spending such a meaningful year together, I didn't feel we needed a long period of dating. Maybe I was the only one who felt that way. But she took the ring from me with trembling hands. I'm so happy, so moved. Your left hand. You really worked hard. It felt strangely embarrassing, almost like being praised by my parents. I did work hard, but I'd rather you not say it like that, I said with a slight protest. Rachel giggled at my complaint. You worked hard for me, didn't you? That makes me happy. And then she threw her arms around me. I still couldn't put any strength into my left hand. But because of that, I held her tightly with my right hand, embracing her with all my strength. A year passed. We got married. Rachel, dressed in a pure white wedding gown, walked down the aisle with her father. With each step she took, my heart pounded louder and louder. When it was time to exchange rings, I took the small ring with my right hand and supported it with my trembling left. Seeing that, Rachel chuckled softly. Your right hand is shaking too. Well, I was nervous, and there was no helping it. Somehow, I managed to slide the ring onto her left ring finger. Without hesitation, she swiftly placed the ring on my trembling left hand. When it comes to moments like this, Rachel is always the braver one. After the ceremony, we changed outfits and headed to the reception. As I waited in front of the grand doors, my heart kept pounding relentlessly. I bet you won't be nervous at all for the performance after this, huh, Rachel? I've had a stomachache since yesterday. I had heard that Rachel's side of the family, as well as many of the guests, were important figures like CEOs and high-ranking officials. We were going to perform as part of the reception entertainment in front of all those people. My stomach was twisting into knots just thinking about it. But back at the hotel, you helped me so confidently, didn't you? With a teasing smile, Rachel poked fun at me. That was because I just wanted to help you so badly. Despite all the grand things I had said and being called a genius back then, the truth is, I get pretty bad stage fright. I only pretended to be confident to hide it. Let's enjoy it to the fullest. Her smile gave me the courage I needed. Yeah, it's a once-in-a-lifetime moment. Now, the bride and groom will make their entrance, the MC's cheerful voice announced, and the grand doors in front of us slowly began to open. Bathed in bright light, I promised myself that I would walk forward with Rachel towards a happy future.